Welcome, everyone. Today, you're going to hear the real, powerful story of William Shakespeare, a man who changed the world with just words. This is more than history. This story will inspire you and help you improve your English listening, vocabulary, and confidence in the most interesting way. So relax, listen carefully, and don't forget to subscribe for more powerful English stories that can change your life. Chapter 1. The Boy from Stratford. Let me take you back to the year 1564. The streets were muddy. The buildings were made of wood and stone. The smell of baked bread and burning firewood filled the small town of Stratford-upon-Avon in England. And in a modest house on Henley Street, something beautiful was happening. A baby boy was born. His name was William Shakespeare. He would grow up to become the most powerful storyteller in history. But back then, he was just the son of a glovemaker. William was born on April 23rd, 1564. Most likely, there's no official birth record, but we know he was baptized on April 26th. His father's name was John Shakespeare. His mother's name was Mary Arden. They were not rich, but they were respected. John was a leather worker who made gloves and belts. He even became mayor of Stratford for a short time. Mary came from a wealthy farming family, so William had some comfort in his early years. They had 8 children, and William was the third. Their home was full of sounds: babies crying, firewood crackling, and stories being told by candlelight. That's where William first heard words with magic. He didn't grow up with gold. He grew up with language. William went to King's New School, just a short walk from his home. It wasn't fancy, but it gave him something powerful: access to books, poetry, Latin, and ancient stories. He learned about heroes like Julius Caesar, lovers like Aeneas and Dido, and great tragedies from ancient Rome and Greece. The boy was quiet, but in his mind, he was already creating new worlds. While other kids played, William thought about kings, queens, betrayal, love, and death. He began to understand what made people cry, what made them laugh, what made them human. But then, things changed. When William was a teenager, his father's business collapsed. No one knows exactly why. Maybe debts, maybe politics. Suddenly, the Shakespeare family had no money. His father stopped going to council meetings. They lost their good name in Stratford. This broke William's heart. He saw how quickly people can go from respected to rejected, from celebrated to forgotten. He never forgot that lesson. In fact, many of his future plays would show how power, money, and fame can disappear overnight. That pain became his power. At the age of 18, something happened that would change William's life forever. He fell in love. The girl's name was Anne Hathaway. She was 26 years old, 8 years older than him. Some people said she was already pregnant. In 1582, William and Anne got married. A few months later, they had a daughter, Susanna. Then, 2 years later, they had twins, Hamnet and Judith. By the age of 21, William Shakespeare was a married man, a father of 3, living in a small town, with no money and no idea how to feed his family. He was stuck, but deep inside, he had a fire, a voice that whispered, "You were made for something bigger." And then, he disappeared. From 1585 to 1592, no one knows exactly what happened to William. These are called the lost years in history. Some say he became a teacher. Some say he traveled with a group of actors. Some even say he was caught poaching deer on a rich man's land and had to run away. But this is what we do know. When he returned, he wasn't the same boy. He was a man with stories inside him that could shake the world. Chapter 2. The Rise of the Writer. Shakespeare Takes London. The year was 1592. A man arrived in London with nothing but a dream and a mind full of stories. His clothes were plain, his shoes were worn, his name meant nothing. But this man was different. He had fire in his eyes, the kind of fire that can burn through rejection, poverty, and fear. His name was William Shakespeare. London was loud, busy, full of danger and opportunity. It was the heart of England, a place where rich lords walked beside poor beggars, merchants shouted in markets, theaters echoed with laughter, screams, and applause. And in the middle of all this was the stage. Not movies, not internet, not books, just live theater, the most powerful entertainment of the time. People from all classes, rich, poor, young, old, came to watch stories unfold in front of their eyes. William knew this was where his words could come alive. But London wasn't waiting for him. There were already famous writers, proud, educated men who had studied at the best universities. They laughed at William. A country boy with no degree, writing plays? He wasn't from Oxford. He wasn't from Cambridge. He was from Stratford. A nobody. But William didn't fight back with anger. He fought back with writing. He started by rewriting and improving old plays for small acting groups. He watched, he listened, he learned, and then he wrote a play so powerful, so exciting, so new. People could not ignore him anymore. In 1592, people began to talk about a new writer, someone who understood the soul of the crowd. That man was William Shakespeare. He had written a history play in 3 parts, Henry VI. The audience loved it. Soldiers, kings, battles. It had everything. Then he wrote something darker, bloodier, more violent, Titus Andronicus. Heads were chopped off, blood poured on stage. Revenge was the theme. People gasped, cheered, covered their eyes. Shakespeare had arrived. He wasn't just writing plays. He was shaking the theater. But just as his name was rising, death arrived. A deadly disease, the plague, spread through London. Theaters closed, crowds vanished, streets were silent. William could not write for the stage anymore. But he didn't stop. While others panicked, William locked himself away and began to write something different. He turned to poetry. He wrote long, emotional poems, Venus and Adonis and the Rape of Lucrece, filled with beauty, pain, and passion. And then he wrote sonnets, little 14-line poems that explored love, time, beauty, jealousy, fear, and eternity. One of them said, "Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more temperate." These words are still read today. They were not just poems. They were pieces of his soul. When the plague ended, theaters reopened. William returned, stronger, deeper, better. He joined an acting company called the Lord Chamberlain's Men. He became their main playwright. They performed his plays again and again. He wasn't just writing. He was building a theater empire. He had a team. He had actors. He had fans. And then came the moment that would change theater forever. In 1599, William and his company built their own theater on the south bank of the River Thames. Its name? The Globe. A round, open-air theater where thousands came to laugh, cry, and scream. This was his temple, his playground. His words filled the air. His stories reached kings and commoners. He wrote Hamlet, Romeo, and Juliet, A Midsummer Night's Dream, Julius Caesar, Much Ado About Nothing, and more, one after another. People didn't just watch his plays, they felt them. Love, betrayal, power, jealousy, madness, death, dreams. No writer had ever captured so many emotions in one life. Queen Elizabeth I herself admired Shakespeare's work. She saw how he made history come alive, how he gave voice to kings and queens, but also to fools and lovers. Later, when King James I came to power, he loved Shakespeare's plays so much, he made the Lord Chamberlain's men the king's men. William was no longer just a writer. He was now the voice of a nation. Chapter 3. The Man Behind the Mask. Love, Loss, and Secrets. By the early 1600s, the name William Shakespeare echoed through every street in London. He had his own theater. He was admired by both Queen Elizabeth I and King James I. His plays were performed in front of thousands. His words were being copied, published, and passed from hand to hand. But let's go behind the curtain. Let's step away from the bright lights of the stage and look into the quiet places of his life, where only pain, mystery, and memory lived. Back in Stratford, far from the noise of London, something happened that would break William's soul. His only son, Hamnet, died in 1596. He was just 11 years old. No one knows how he died. Maybe illness, maybe plague. But Shakespeare was away in London when it happened. Imagine that. You're building your dreams in a faraway city, and you get the news. Your little boy is gone forever. He didn't speak about it publicly. He didn't write about it in letters. But his plays changed after that moment. They became darker, deeper, more emotional. He started asking bigger questions. Why do people suffer? Why does love end in pain? Why do the best things get taken away? Soon after, he wrote his most emotional play, a tragedy, about a young man named Hamlet. Hamlet is not just a story about a prince. It's a story about loss, doubt, confusion, betrayal, death, and a son's love for his father. The name Hamnet and Hamlet were almost the same during that time. Was Shakespeare writing about his own grief? Was the ghost in the play a version of himself, haunted by the past? We'll never know for sure. But when you read or watch Hamlet, you feel something real, not performance, pain. And that pain became art. Shakespeare was married to Anne Hathaway, remember? They had 3 children. But for most of his career, William lived in London and Anne stayed in Stratford. Why? Some say he loved her. Others say he never truly wanted the marriage, that it was rushed because of pregnancy. Whatever the truth, one thing is clear. William lived far away from his wife for over 20 years. He only visited Stratford from time to time. He wrote 154 sonnets, many of them about love, lust, longing, betrayal, and beauty. But the woman he wrote about never had Anne's name. Some sonnets are written to a mysterious woman, now called the Dark Lady. Others are written to a young man, full of beauty and youth. Who were they? Lovers? Friends? Fiction? No one knows for sure. But Shakespeare's heart was full of secrets. Shakespeare understood human nature like no one else. He wasn't a philosopher in a library. He was a man who watched people. How they walked, talked, loved, lied, cried, and broke. He wrote kings who were weak, fools who were wise, wives who were loyal, husbands who were jealous. He didn't judge his characters. He gave them truth. That's why we still read him today. Because he understood what it means to be human. In the 1600s, Shakespeare entered the darkest and most powerful phase of his writing. He gave the world Macbeth, a man hungry for power who destroys everything. Othello, a man consumed by jealousy who kills his own wife. King Lear, an old king who gives up his throne and loses everything, including his mind. These plays weren't just tragedies. They were warnings. They showed how greed, pride, and blindness could ruin even the greatest people. And at the same time, they showed the beauty of love, loyalty, and truth, even in the darkest moments. People say Shakespeare wasn't just writing plays. He was holding a mirror to the world. As Shakespeare grew older, he started spending more time in Stratford again. He bought a big house called New Place. He became rich, quiet, private. He helped his daughters with their marriages. But still, plays were being written, either alone or with others. Some scholars believe that in his final years, Shakespeare worked with younger writers, passing on his knowledge. He wasn't just a writer now. He was a master, a legend in his own time. But he never gave interviews, never explained his poems, never stood in the spotlight. He let his words speak for him. Even now, 400+ years later, we don't have a single letter written by him. We don't know exactly what he looked like. We don't fully understand his love life, beliefs, or secrets. We don't know how a man with no university education wrote the greatest works in English history. Some people even believe Shakespeare didn't write the plays himself, a theory that still lives today. But no matter what they say, one truth remains. Someone, somehow, wrote words so powerful that they changed the world. Behind the name William Shakespeare was a man who loved, lost, grieved, questioned, and felt deeply. He never tried to be famous. He never asked for attention. He just kept writing, even when the world was broken. He wrote for queens and kings, but also for the broken-hearted, the dreamers, the fools, the warriors, the forgotten. He gave every soul a voice, and when he was tired, when the applause faded, he walked away quietly, but his words stayed behind. Chapter 4. The Final Act: Death, Legacy, and the Man Who Became Immortal. The year was 1613. William Shakespeare was now in his late 40s. He had lived a life full of creativity, secrets, and success. He had written over 30 plays, touched thousands of hearts, and helped build one of the greatest theaters in the world. But something unexpected happened. During a performance of his new play, Henry VIII, at the Globe Theatre, a cannon used in the show misfired. The theater caught fire. In just over an hour, the Globe burned to the ground. His theater was gone. It was not just wood and walls. It was his dream, a place where his words danced and flew into the hearts of strangers. But William said nothing. He didn't return to rebuild it. He simply stepped away. In 1614, Shakespeare returned to Stratford-upon-Avon permanently. The bright lights of London were behind him now. He settled into his large home, New Place, as a quiet, wealthy gentleman. People saw him walking slowly through the garden, talking with his daughters, smiling at neighbors. He no longer needed to prove anything. He had already changed the world, but he never stopped writing. One of his last plays was The Tempest. In it, an old magician named Prospero gives up his power, breaks his magic staff, and walks away from the world he ruled. Many believe Shakespeare was writing about himself. It was his way of saying, "I've done enough. It's time to let go." In April 1616, William's health began to fade. He was just 52 years old. There was no hospital, no medicine that could save him. Only silence, only time. He rewrote his will, making sure his daughters and wife would be safe. His final words on paper? Not a poem, not a play, just legal lines, signing away his home and possessions. He died on April 23rd, 1616, the same date as his birthday. The bells rang in Stratford. People whispered his name, but no one knew that this quiet death was the birth of immortality. William Shakespeare was buried in the Holy Trinity Church in Stratford, but even in death, he had a voice. On his gravestone, these words were carved: "Good friend, for Jesus' sake forbear to dig the dust enclosed here. Blessed be the man that spares these stones, and cursed be he that moves my bones." A warning, a curse, a poetic protection. No one has ever touched his grave. It remains untouched, even now, because some say the curse is real. After his death, his plays were in danger. Many of them had never been printed properly. They were scattered in notebooks, actors' copies, and scraps of memory. If nothing was done, his words would vanish forever. But two of his actor friends, John Heminges and Henry Condell, collected all his works and published them in 1623, 7 years after his death. This collection became known as the First Folio. It saved Macbeth, Julius Caesar, Twelfth Night, As You Like It, The Tempest, and many others. Without this book, half of Shakespeare's plays would be lost to history. Thanks to two loyal friends, his voice survived. Centuries passed, and something strange happened. Shakespeare didn't disappear. His words grew stronger. His name grew bigger. His characters lived on: Romeo and Juliet, Hamlet, Lady Macbeth, King Lear, Othello, not as people from the past, but as reflections of us. Every generation found new meaning in his lines. In war, they read, "Cry havoc, and let slip the dogs of war." In love, they whispered, "My bounty is as boundless as the sea." In pain, they cried, "To be or not to be." He didn't just write English. He shaped it. More than 1,700 new words were created or made popular by Shakespeare, including lonely, amazement, cold-blooded, eyeball, swagger, bedazzled. He didn't just write plays. He built a language. Today, his plays are performed in every country, in every language, in schools, on stages, in movies, in memory. He has statues in London, New York, Paris, and beyond. His works are studied by presidents, prisoners, professors, and children. He was just a boy from a small English town, with no college degree, no powerful family, no fancy title, only a burning desire to understand what it means to be human. And with that, he became immortal. William Shakespeare didn't live forever, but his words did. He didn't chase fame. He chased truth. He didn't seek power. He sought meaning. And because of that, his plays will never die. So when you hear the name Shakespeare, don't think of an old man in history. Think of a boy who once closed his eyes in a quiet town and dreamed of kings, love, betrayal, and eternity. And with ink, paper, and heart, he gave that dream to the world. 5 powerful life lessons from the story of William Shakespeare. Lesson 1. You don't need a perfect start. William Shakespeare had no university degree. He was not rich. He came from a small town, but he didn't wait for a perfect opportunity. He started with what he had: his love for words. Lesson: start where you are. Use what you have. Big beginnings are not needed for great futures. Lesson 2. Pain can become power. He lost his only son, Hamnet. He lived far from his wife. His heart was full of grief, but he turned that grief into plays like Hamlet, King Lear, and Othello. Lesson: don't hide from your pain. Use it. Feel it. Let it teach you, grow you, and strengthen you. Lesson 3: silence is strength. Shakespeare never explained his poems, never gave interviews. He didn't fight back with anger. He let his work speak for him. Lesson: you don't always have to shout to be great. Let your actions, your discipline, and your results speak louder than your words. Lesson 4: give everything you have before you leave. He didn't stop writing after success. He gave us comedies, tragedies, history, poetry, sonnets, and over 1,700 New English words. Lesson: if you have a gift, share it. Don't leave this world with your ideas still inside you. Create, speak, write, build, leave a mark. Lesson 5: you can become immortal without living forever. Shakespeare died at age 52, but his words never died. Today, billions of people still read him, still quote him, still learn English from him. Lesson: if you give the world something real, something true, something beautiful, you never truly die. William Shakespeare didn't need followers. He didn't need a microphone. He didn't need internet, cameras, or titles. All he had was a pen. And with that pen, he reached the hearts of kings, lovers, warriors, and dreamers. Across 400 years, today you listen to his story. You heard about his pain, his love, his secrets, and his rise. But remember, this is not just about Shakespeare. This is about you. Your voice matters. Your story matters. Your words can touch someone. If a quiet boy from Stratford can become the most powerful writer in history, what are you waiting for? Learn, improve your English, and write your own story. One powerful word at a time. This is not the end. It's your beginning.